Maschine Masters. My name is MGTheFuture. I have another exclusive tutorial for you guys today. We'll be talking about how to make a Hit Boy type beat. This particular tutorial was requested on the last video, so I thought it'd be pretty cool to kind of highlight some tips and techniques that I've learned while listening to that style of music. Hit Boy, of course, makes different kinds of beats for all kinds of artists. He has a lot of stuff on the R&B and pop side, and of course some more aggressive hip hop and sample based stuff. So it's kind of hard to kind of put that all in one bucket and make a one type beat tutorial for him. Unlike if you compare him to a trap producer who pretty much just does trap. Hit Boy is different in that regard. So I'm gonna be trying to pick more of an R&B pop style. So this way I could talk about chords, progressions, arps, and then also talk about drum programming and arrangement. So this should be pretty useful and beneficial to a lot of you from an educational point of view. But anyway, let's get started. I'm gonna be starting off with an ARP, and you can use Citrus from FL Studio. I also have silent floating. And what I'm going to do is set up my scale highlights in FL Studio first, and that's under helpers. And I think I already have it set up for a Dorian. And what I'm going to want to do is a 3-chord progression. And the easiest way to do that is from picking keys in one chord. So this is very simple. So I'm going to use the root key A, and I'll build a chord from it by skipping every other highlighted key. And those 3 keys are going to be the root notes of my actual chords. But for now, let's just draw it as the main so-called melody of this progression. And I have the tempo in 75 beats per minute instead of 140 or 150 is to change the behavior or speed of the ARP. If your ARP has the option to change steps and swing like 1/16, 1/8, 1/4, you could do that instead. But this is just easier for me to do. And you can mess around with the layers of the keys, see if you get something you like that sounds better. And then I'll show you it on silent as well, which is a little bit more energetic. So that's the bare minimum layout, so to speak. Now let's focus on the chord progression. Hit Boy on a lot of the pop joints has a piano and string sections, more like classical music towards the end of the song. So I'm going to try to implement that earlier. And of course, piano is a better sound to use when we figure out chord progressions. So now I just pick each of these keys. I can do it like that if I want to. So that progression's too slow. So I want to make this half of that. Now I want to turn those into chords. So you just do that by skipping every other key. Which is dope. So that's going to be my actual chord progression. Now what I want to do is make this a little bit more expressive. I'm going to go ahead and copy the root keys and drop that down an octave right away. They're too far apart. So let's go ahead and clean that up by dropping them or inverting them as it's called. And then what else I can do is copy this particular pattern, and I can probably shorten it and move it over. Now once I have something like that I like, I'll go ahead and strum it, make it more human, using the strum feature in the piano roll, and you use time to dictate the curve of the keys. Once you have that, you're on your way. So now I'm going to work on what would complement that, which is the strings, real strings. So I'm going to use symphonic orchestra. You don't have to use that. There's strings in every program, so whatever orchestral strings you can get your hands on, we're going to build the chords off of that. Turn that down a little bit. So that works. And I'm going to keep using that. I'm going to reuse that orchestra for a regular pad, which normally layers that, but it comes in on the verse early in a lot of his compositions. From there, we're going to do the virus. The virus is almost like as iconic as a saw. One of the best saws in the game. Cool, we're almost there. I have extra strings. I'm not going to OD on the strings though. Then we do a bass. Bass is simple. You just want something that's a little articulated, like a synth bass in this range. And you can kind of just trace the chords like I've been doing. I'll move this up so we can hear it better. And I'll just do some kind of pattern that'll go good with some drums. It's real simple. So that's going to be the main part of the beat. I really don't have to do too much more to that. Now what I'm going to do is split this up. Under patterns, I believe you could do split by channel. This way, when I go into my playlist view, everything's already broken down for me. So I just draw the piano where the piano needs to go. But in this case, it'll be the ARP. So the ARP will be the main ingredient for this. Let's drop it in properly. And I'll pretend like this is a mini hook section right here. So it'll start something like this. Cool, so now we can work on the drums. Drums should be really easy, but the problem with these kind of beats is that he uses a lot of drums. So we're gonna have quite a few patterns. I'm gonna call it like main, breakdown, and hook. So I'm gonna do the main drum first. So I draw this pattern here. Since this is half times, it's like 70 beats per minute. We're gonna have to draw these using the red boxes like this. Something like that. So I'll just use multiple patterns like that. So his drum patterns are tricky. Like they sound simple rhythm-wise, but he does a lot of things with percussions in the background that you normally find in trap producers. They do with the hi-hats and the low hats, kind of have like a percussive vibe to it. He does tricky stuff with the snares. So I'm going to show you one of the patterns that are tricky like that. So that's my placeholder for this particular rhythm I'm going to do. So I'm going to shrink this. Now that you have that, you work on your kick pattern. So the kick I'm going to use and follow the root note of this chord, which is A. But it could also be C, which would be the third, because that's the second note of the chord. And I dropped the E down, which was the fifth, so I can ignore that. So I can do A or C. All my kicks that I'm using in this particular example are already tuned to C, so let's see what that sounds like. Keep in mind, when you do drum patterns like this, his stuff is all bounce driven, so it's like boom, 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 boom. Anything like Timberland, basically. You'll get that bounce from it. So that one's a little too deep. Let's try this. Yeah. once you have something like that, I'm gonna copy that a few times, and then we're gonna add some more elements. So let me move these drums down to their own section. And basically you're changing the rhythm of the track and adding a lot of percussive elements. So when everything loops around, it kind of stands out. It's kind of like a drum fill almost, but it's an entire pattern that's a fill. All right, so to pull that off, I'm just loop that section. I'm gonna use other instruments. Use the cymbals a lot. So we're gonna out that, make it shorter. Cool, and then you can normally layer that with the snare. Cool, so now we're gonna let that loop around real quick. Another part that brings way more life to that is voice. So I have two different voice sections throughout this track, one for the regular part and one for the breakdown. So Vox, I have my own channel for as well. I have a whole bunch of voices. A lot of times Timbaland, Manny Fresh, and even Hit Boy, they're using James Brown's voice a whole lot. So we'll do the same thing. So for Vox 2, we're going to change it up a little bit more. It's going to be a little bit more dramatic than that. So we'll loop this part again. And what I'll do is I'll pitch that. And we can use Control, Note, Find Pitch, and just draw a curve for it. So now we'll loop that together. And we'll drop that Vox here, so it's only once in a while. And we want a little bit more energy in that turnaround for the voice, because the drums we're not going to do nothing crazy or heavy on. So I'm gonna see if I got any other sounds that I can use. A lot of his beats, like the joint for Kendrick Lamar, that freestyle joint on his first album, Good Kid, Mad City, that main instrument, it's kind of like a mallet or a bell instrument that's being time stretched like this. But if you hear it originally, it's like this. So we'll time stretch it and see if I can use that. And what I do is I have the envelope set up just like I would an 808, so it doesn't play the whole sample. Now I'm gonna filter it differently. I'm gonna high pass it instead of low pass it. You can even make multiple variations so it doesn't repeat. Like if you had something like this, you might have a different variation here. And you can make different ones as long as it follows the same rhythm. The last part of the drums though is the breakdown for the hook, which is everything going at once. And he normally changes up on that. Right there I have a bass line just as a placeholder. So I'm gonna call it the snare breakdown. And that's really easy to do, but I'm gonna try to show you something that a lot of you may not be doing with snares and things like that. So let me show you what that pattern looks like. So we hear that pattern a whole lot from Paris and other beats. But there's something else going on that's a little bit more nuanced. And that's that these snares are usually pitched on his joints. Kind of layered like chords. And also they kind of have this shift or this bounce to them. You can get that from the swing adjuster if you want to, but I'd rather use quantize. And in quantize you have a bunch of different score files like the MPC and hip hop. So you can use these. And what you do is you want to adjust the start time all the way over. And sensitivity is how many notes it grabs from your pattern. So I usually keep that at 9 o'clock. And duration you can change to quantize the end time if you want, if your notes are falling off grid. So for instance, you could take a drum loop from like Timbaland and then quantize your drums to swing and move like his, and even copy the duration of notes if you're really advanced at it. So we'll do quantize duration and pretty much keep that the same. Now with some of these MIDI files that you import from scores, the velocities kind of exaggerated to create that effect, which is perfect if you're trying to humanize hi-hats. But I normally turn that velocity about halfway back because we don't need it. So these are swinging a lot more. You can just shift these notes over and get them off that first line to kind of give them a different movement. So now when we put them back in arrangement, two ways. And then here we're going to need different cymbals and what have you too. So that's how it'll begin or end. And we'll do it like this. Now for the arrangement, since that bass and that high frequency content's so high, you could pretty much make a whole verse of just the ARP by itself if you wish. So I'll show you what that looks like real quick. Let's back it up. Let's put the pads in first. But yeah, that's pretty much it, man. That's what all I got for a Hit Boy type beat. Just showing you the different drum elements and unique ways to use percussion, and also focusing on the importance of change-ups every 4 bars or every 8 bars. That really stands out to me when he makes his stuff. Also with some of the compositions, finding different exotic scales that are not normal or what we're used to hearing in the different inversions, and kind of thinking of it as an orchestral arrangement, which would give it that anthem and more epic type big hooks that you hear a lot of female vocalists are in front of. But hopefully that's helpful. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, let me know in the comment box below. If you're not a subscriber, definitely subscribe. Appreciate all you guys' support. Definitely follow us also on social media. I'm at MGTheFuture. Also follow at Maschine Masters. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Until next time, peace.